You can call me an affirmative waiter at the moment because we are bringing positivity to the table in a big, big way. And if you don't like that pun, you are in for a shock as we go through all 18 teams and a positive prediction that I've got for every single one of them throughout the 2024 season. And I'm big on this. I'm not using this to just suck up to fan bases at all. These are things that I genuinely can either see, hope, or want to happen throughout 2024. And we don't really want to spread a lot of negativity around, especially not in January. So hope you enjoy. And instead of going alphabetically, as I seem to do in a lot of videos, I'm going to change it up and go in reverse ladder order. So Adelaide fans, sorry, but you're just going to have to wait a little bit longer before we get to your side. But let's get into it. West Coast, a handful of wins. Is this really that controversial? They were historically bad last year. Historically bad. Still got about halfway there, and I say about because they probably should have beaten the Bombers, and they had, I think, one or two other close games as well, but considering they're probably going to be a lot healthier this year than they were last year. Yes, they're developing, they're young, we know all of these things, that doesn't change, believe me, but I don't think it's too outlandish to say Oscar Allen's goal kicking can win them a game on their own, or their defense can just hold up a team long enough. They've still got Optus Stadium, which, yes, when you're historically bad, your home ground may not be as much of a fortress, but considering how amazing the West Coast fans were when things were going totally shit in 2023, it's not that outlandish to say they can't get another win or two at home, which means 5 is more than doable. So, is it a soft start, controversial start? I don't think so, but we'll see. What do you think? West Coast 5+ wins is, I think, an expectation of mine, not nearly a prediction, but it's what I'm starting with. North Melbourne, LDU, Brownlow, Smoky. I went and had a look in 2023 at LDU's numbers when he spent 80% or more time on ground. And look at this. I mean, holy smoke. Now, what's going to serve against him, or what's going to go against him, I should say, is that North aren't going to be very good. So it is going to have to be a 2019, I should say, Nat Fyfe kind of situation in which Freo did finish 13th. Albeit they were 3 games out of the 8. They were also, I think, 2 games out of 16th spot. So think of that what you will. But my God, if there's one man that can take a really bad team and get a medal around his neck, it's going to be him. We know Cripps did it when Carlton weren't necessarily a juggernaut, we know, but they were a lot closer to the finals than Freo were at that point, and I think North Melbourne are going to be throughout 2024, but the way he bursts out of stoppage, gets the footy, I still think he needs to kick the ball a little bit more, not a whole lot more, but there are definitely games where he's having, say, 27 disposals and it's like a 12 kick, 15 handball mix. I think if he is able to kick the footy a little bit more, get those meters gained going, top 5 is totally not out of the range here if he plays 20 games plus. So that to me is a smoky, and last I checked he was $41 on Sportsbet. So gamble responsibly. This is not an endorsement or gambling advice at all, but LDU. Oh boy. Hawks, Mitch Lewis to kick 60 plus in the last 23 games in which he has been healthy. So started the game and finished the game. He's kicked 55 goals. Is 5 more totally out of the way? He's not going to get double-teamed nearly as much, considering the Hawks have now got Marbior Chol and Jack Gunston, and you're also not going to get the guys on the ground that are going to be as big of a bother, considering you've got to look after Luke Bruce, Jack Ginnivan, Dylan Moore, and Connor McDonald, who for some reason is being left out of Hawthorn Best 22s by mainstream footy media, but you know, clearly they're not watching the Hawks enough, which I can't say I blame too much, but if you are going to get paid to talk about footy, you should be expected to know footy. I don't think that's too much of an expectation, but the man who inherited Jared Roughhead's number 2, speaking of not knowing footy, Jared Roughhead's number 2, holy smoke. I love this guy. There's not a Hawthorn fan that doesn't love Mitch Lewis, so if you can get a full season in continuity style, Hawthorn are clearly adopting a stuff it will give up 80, 90 plus points a game as long as we can try to kick 100 ourselves. That opens up a whole lot more opportunities for him. Sure, Gunners is going to kick goals, Chol's going to kick goals, Ginnivan's hopefully going to kick goals. And if Luke Bruce can kick another 40, it would be extraordinary, but there's one man that needs to lead the Hawthorn goal kicking for the improvement to come, and it's this man. Gold Coast finals berth. Now, I was looking at a lot of individuals here, looking at like Touk Miller, can he get back to his, top 5 Brownlow form? Well, if he does, Gold Coast probably play finals. Can Noah Anderson have a back-to-back elite season, even if he does spend more time on a wing? Because you've got Miller, you've got Rowell, you've got Flanders. Well, if he does that, Gold Coast are probably playing finals. Ben King, can he remain fit for the entire season and get back to some of his best form? Well, if he does that, Gold Coast are probably playing finals. Can Jed Walter be the perfect second forward for him? Well, if he is, Gold Coast are probably playing finals. Can they fix up some of their passive defensive play? Well, if they can, they're probably playing finals. All roads lead back to this finals berth, which is why it has to be the choice here. Now, when I put my top 8 together, if Gold Coast aren't there, am I a hypocrite? I still like to think no, because opinions can change over time. But if we're talking about any kind of positivity coming to Gold Coast, I think all roads lead to a finals berth. Now, I did a poll with you guys, and you think that they're not quite ready yet, but when are they going to be? This new coach drama has officially been eliminated with Craig McRae and Adam Kingsley, so whenever you're ready, Gold Coast, it'd be great. Freo, Amos's Coleman Challenge. Now, as a Hawthorn fan, I love Josh Ward. Do I fantasize about what Mitch Lewis and Jai Amos would look like in the same forward line? Yes, I do, because I love him a lot. Now, Freo, speaking of passively defensive football teams, none are as comically bad as Freo were last year. It was infuriating to watch. They spent so many years trying to attract key forward talent to that football club, post and even during Matthew Pavlich's career. You've now got one, so get it into your forward half quickly. You've still got Sam Switkowski there. I think Brandon Walker and Michael Frederick should be playing forward, but Walker did look pretty good down back last year, so I might have to concede there. Neil Erasmus is going to have to play more in that forward line as well. Tom Emmett, who we saw last year, I think could be a really good half-forward flanker who could rotate into some centre bounces as his career continues expanding. But in the air, this guy is the guy. And if Freo are going to make any kind of good, solid scoring improvement in 2024, it is going to be led by this man, which means he's got to be knocking on the podium of the Coleman. Can he do it? I believe he can, because he's just that talented. Richmond, Gibkiss, comeback player of the year. I love Josh Gibkiss. Now, some of you will have heard me say this before, but my theory is wherever you played footy as a junior is the position you love the most to watch in the AFL. I was a fullback as a junior. Nowhere near to a level that even can be thought about in an AFL sense. So that's not what I'm saying here. But when I think of my favourite players outside of the Hawks, Sam Collins, Sam Taylor, Josh Gibkiss is definitely in that conversation. Tom Barras is definitely in that conversation. Tom McCartan is in that, or maybe it's just Toms and Sams. Who knows? But this guy I loved during his draft year. I've loved nearly every game he's played for Richmond. I love the way he plays back shoulder. I love the way he manoeuvres his body, not just on the ground, but in the air as well. And I think he is the forgotten man at the Tigers. If you are a Richmond fan, you'll probably find more reasons to be excited than maybe a non-Richmond fan, but things to get excited about when it comes to the Tigers this year is Shea Bolton, the development of your young forwards, Judson Clark, Morris Rioli Jr., and hopefully Noah Cumberland, a man that I'm a massive fan of. Do you get an All-Australian jump from Daniel Rioli? Potentially. But, it's more of we got to wait and see with the Tigers. How will Dusty Yeo, can Timmy Taranto hit some targets by foot? What will Jacob Hopper be like? Can he be fully fit? I think he's the forgotten man. And I know we don't actually have a comeback player of the year like the NFL does, and I'm not suggesting that we get one. We don't want to bring more Americanisms into the game, apparently. But he's the forgotten man, and I can't wait to see him. So my prediction is that he comes back, he plays really, really well, and I bloody hope he does too, because this kid could be anything. Geelong, Holmes is home. Now, we have a resurgence of the wingmen. Errol Goulden, Josh Dacos, Noah Anderson. I even think Kane Farrell and Sam Durham deserve to be in this conversation. Ed Langdon, Lockie Hunter. They're not power rankings, by the way, guys, just before you comment below. I think Max Holmes has a chance to be one of the best in the competition now with Isaac Smith not at the Cattery anymore. He has a chance to own it from a speed point of view. I think Geelong are going to play Mitch Duncan on that other wing as your veteran experience, a man to operate between the arcs, make sure structure stays as good as it can be. But in terms of pure excitement, get him on the other wing. If he can average 22, 23, 24 disposals, which hopefully he can, I think he's going to take the next step and properly explode and put himself in the conversation for a top 5 wingman in the competition. And he's bloody good to watch. Bombers, Ridley's All-Australian return. Now, this isn't me saying my All-Australian team is going to be this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. But I think he is the biggest benefactor of Ben Mackay being a Bomber. And that is a hell of a tongue twister that I'm not going to try and say twice. But yes, it's going to help Mason Redman as well. No denying that in the slightest. But Jordan Ridley is, in the Luke Ryan tier. Isaac Cumming is another guy who belongs in here, although I think Ridley is better than Isaac. But all of these guys are chasing James Sicily for that third tall defender, interceptor kind of guy. And in my opinion, at their best, it's Sicily and then Ridley and Ryan are 1A, 1B. Now, what Ridley and Ryan have over Sicily is that one-on-one, they're better players. I love Sis, but if he is on a key forward, he gets destroyed. And I don't think that's too controversial to say. Now that Ben Mackay is going to take the big boy, and I think Mason Redman's going to play the athletic second defender, we are going to get Jordan Ridley in his All-Australian year. Intercept marking, intercept possessions, beautiful kick. Therefore, at his best, he'll be an All-Australian in 2024. And I'll love to see it. And I'm not just saying that because he's in my starting Supercoach team. So, don't let me down, Jordan. Adelaide, Fogarty's forward line. If the Crows are going to finish top 4, and I made a video a while back saying that they will, and I will still stick to that as we continue towards round 1, but I think Adelaide need to have their leading goal kicker be the man in number 32. I just do. I think that Walker needs to be the second haul in order for the Crows to get closer to a flag, because when Walker retires, Fogarty already needs to be the guy. Otherwise, you are going to be behind in your development. Fogarty needs to take it over while Walker is there and propel the Crows. You've got the smalls, Rankin, Rochelle, Pedler. You've got Schoenberg when he comes back, Ned McHenry. You've got guys that can cause problems in that forward half. And in the air, Fogarty is a beautiful mark. He's an even better kick. And Taylor Walker might just be the best 1-2 punch for accurate goal kicking in the competition. But if it's not his forward line, the Crows are going to stall. And I know that's a lot of pressure to put on one player, but I'm backing him to get it done, and he will lead Adelaide's goal kicking this year if he's fully fit. The Bulldogs, Sam I Am. We're getting into the shitty puns now, guys, but I think this is going to be a big year for Sam Darcy, and I hope it is at centre-half back, although he is being coached by Bevo, so who knows, he could be the forward pocket alongside Cody Waitman in 2024. But again, fully fit, which is what we want for all players. I can be many things, do many things, say many things, but wishing injuries upon players is something that will never appear on this channel. So, 23 games in at centre-half back, I think could genuinely be a breakout for him. His marking is obviously awesome. I think he's a pretty good kick for a big bloke as well. The way he uses his body in the air, on the ground is also fantastic. But what I love, and what's very hard to teach for the son of a gun, is his footy IQ. And I think he's got it in spades. So, fingers crossed he's fully fit round 1, gets picked, and we'll be able to go from there. James O'Donnell did get a run, and that was fine. I think he was okay. But for the Bulldogs, again, to take another step and in order to be in premiership contention, that back line is a worry, and I think Sam Darcy needs to be their second best key defender, if not their first. The Swans, Papley's paradise. Tom Papley is going to be Sydney's best forward this year, and if he is, and the rest of them are okay, then I think the Swans are going to be fine. But that forward line is the big stress for mine. Yes, you could point to the defence, I know. What's their midfield going to look like without Callum Mills? Yes, they've got Parker, they've got Errol Gould and Chad Warner, but one of them is a very underrated player, but we've seen him at his best. One of them is a superstar in Errol Goulden, and Chad Warner's the guy that we're just kind of waiting for him to become that superstar, or has he copped the Damien Barrett curse? Who knows? But Logan McDonald, Joel Amati, and Hayden McLean are going to be the guys that are under pressure in a post-Lance Franklin world. Will Hayward is a very good fifth forward, and I'm sick of talking about Isaac Heaney, and I'm just waiting for it to happen if it ever does. Who's left in that forward line? Tom Papley. I'm more than happy for him to have 6 to 8 centre bounce attendances a game, break up that midfield. Hawthorn did it with Brewster Rioli in their premiership years. I've got no qualm with the Swans doing it as well. But he needs to be electrifying, and I think he'll probably be in my All-Australian prediction team as well. But, my goodness. Love him or hate him, I think it's hard to hate him, to be honest. He's got character. He's got personality. I love that in my footballers. But he's going to have to make that SCG, and he's going to have to make that Swans forward line his paradise if they're going to go anywhere in 2024. And of course, I think he's going to. He's got credits in the bank. The Giants making a big, big sound on grand final day. When I think about the 2024 grand final, you got your Collingwoods, your Brisbanes, whatever you think of teams like Melbourne, Port, Adelaide, Sydney, Carlton even, who I'd probably have above that initial list, maybe third behind Collingwood and Brisbane. I can't, whenever I think of the grand final, they're just the team that I keep coming back to the most. So, of course I'm going to put them here. Their big weakness, and this is coming from a team that lost a prelim by a point, so there's not going to be that many weaknesses, but their defensive work between the arcs was abhorrent in big parts of big games. So if they can ease the pressure on Sam Taylor, Jack Buckley, these guys, they're going to be better off. And again, for Giants fans, hopefully that is what happens. But whenever I think to myself, who's going to be there on grand final day, I can convince myself it's Collingwood pretty easily. I can convince myself Brisbane's there pretty easily. I can talk myself into Carlton, and I can think, look, at their best, Melbourne, Port Adelaide, Sydney, Adelaide, around the mark. But I keep coming back to the Giants. So, big, big sound on grand final day? Absolutely. St Kilda, Rowan's maiden All-Australian blazer. Yep, your All-Australian ruckman is going to be Rowan Marshall, is my opinion. Yes, Tim English still exists. Max Gawn, Brodie Grundy, Sean Darcy, if you want to go down the hand. Jackson Path, although I find that a little bit hard to believe. And there's probably another one or two ruckmen there that you're probably thinking, hey, Daz, why don't you mention this guy? I understand that. But for his work around the ground, his ability to just be a star is why I love Rowan Marshall. And I actually think his tap work is the underrated part of his game. I think he needs to take a few more marks, especially maybe down back, that kick behind the ball maybe, or hit the scoreboard. I think he needs to pick one of those two in order to excel at. But again, no footballer is perfect. Tim English wasn't perfect last year, and he was the All-Australian ruckman. And that's not even a slight on him, because he was amazing. But right now, my All-Australian ruckman pick is going to be the boy from the Saints, Rowan Marshall. Love him. Alton, two Charlies. They've already got Curnow, so who is the other I hear you cry? Well, he's actually going to be the recipient of the Charles Brownlow Medal. And here's the guy that I think, yes, Bontempelli and Dacos, they're the guys everyone's going to pick. That's boring. Let me talk you into Sam Walsh, who, like Luke Davies-Uniacke, if he plays 23 games, why not? Because Cripps takes votes off him. Yes, Petrarca and Oliver, you could argue, may have stolen a Brownlow off each other in recent times. But, the way that Walsh covers the ground, the way that he can use the footy, just tells me that, yes, Cripps' bull mentality is going to be good, and he's going to take some votes off him. Of course he is. No one is denying that for a moment. But is it going to be enough to steal Charlie off him fully fit at his best? Personally, I don't think so. I can see him winning it with low 30s and Cripps still getting 20, 22. I love Sam Walsh for the Brownlow. I really do. His clearance work, his inside, his outside. I love it all. So Charlie Curnow and Sam Walsh. Carlton, Icon Park. Double Charlie. Yes, please. Melbourne, Clary cleans up. Now, this is a hope more than anything else, but I'm a big believer in just wanting people to be okay. So whether it's Clary in this scenario, whether it's you watching at home going through something physical, mental, emotional, whatever it may be, I hope you're okay. And I hope Clary is as well. I don't really think it's up to us to decide what's going on with Clary or to speculate over what's happening. And hey, if he throws it away, yeah, it's going to be sad. Don't get me wrong. It's going to be sad. But positive prediction, I bloody hope we see him back at his best. Not just because he's a good footballer, but I'm just a believer in that we all deserve to be at our best. Port Adelaide, the Berg is the word. I love Miles Bergman. I really do. Not as much as Smithy, the inaugural subscriber to Daz Talks Footy, who might be leading the fan club even amongst Port Adelaide fans. But, my God, this kid's talented. Top 3 in Port Adelaide's best and fairest. Smokey for the All-Australian squad. I'm not prepared to go that far, but his ball use is elite. His footy IQ is fantastic, and he's one of those guys who draws you to your screen, even if you're not a massive footy fan. And what else I love as well is that if he isn't a one-on-one off a turnover or he's isolated inside 50, Doesn't look overwhelmed. You're not going to win every contest, but he doesn't lose every contest either. Massive tick. Miles Bergman, top 3. Port Adelaide, best and fairest. Lock it in. Brisbane, All-Australian on each line. They only had Charlie Cameron last year, but I believe that Brisbane are going to be a very good team, and I think Harris Andrews, Lachie Neale, or Josh Dunkley, Charlie Cameron, these are all guys that are going to be in contention for an All-Australian spot. As much as I'd love to say Zach Bailey because I love him, I don't think he's going to get into the side. But Brisbane are going to be one of the better teams in the competition. The Gabba is still a fortress, and I have no reason to believe why Harris, Lachie, Charlie, these guys aren't going to make the All-Australian team. Is this the most boring one of the lot? Potentially. But Brisbane, enjoy being boring. It means you're good and in a good place. So, there you go. But Josh Dunkley in the All-Australian team might be a bit of a hot take maybe. But why not? And for the Pies, I'm so sorry for this, even though I wrote it. Vodka Kruger. It's so bad. I can hear people that know me personally hating me right now. Now, the reason why I'm talking about Nathan Kruger in this spot, and I'm probably the only person on the internet or even Collingwood fandoms that is I think he just deserves a go. I think he deserves to be fully fit. And again, that's a theme throughout a lot of these positive predictions. But yes, Billy Frampton, he's probably going to be 1A in the post-Dan McStay injury stuff because he played in the grand final. That's probably a good indication of how things are going. But you just want to see good people succeed. I want to see him succeed. And to be honest, talking about the Pies as I've done in a recent video, but you know, even I'm noticing that it's the Cliff Notes, it's the Dacosses, it's the Pendleburys, it's, you know, these guys that we talk about all the time. So why not give a guy who no one else is talking about a little bit of love and hope that he can get his career on track and moving. So Nathan Kruger in 2024, hope he has an absolutely ripping season. So that's it, guys. One prediction, every team. Let me know what you think. Comment below. Let me know. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you have one for your side? Another team? Get it all down in there because I love talking to you guys. I am working on something pretty great, and my God, I hope I can get it to you next week that I think is the best thing I've ever done on this channel. So keep an eye out for that. Love you guys. Stay well, stay legendary, and I'll see you in the next one. See you later.